Welcome back to Roots Music History. On today's episode, we are talking about the country music legend Toby Keith, his rise to fame, his faith, his family, and his father, who inspired the famous American song Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. Join me as we honor an incredible man and an incredible career. Toby Keith was originally born Toby Keith Covell on July 8, 1961 in Clinton, Oklahoma. Even though he was born in Clinton, Oklahoma, he was raised in Moore, Oklahoma, where his father Hubert was from. His father was Hubert Keith Covell Jr. He married a woman named Carolyn Joan. Carolyn already had 2 children when she married Hubert, and then together, Hubert and Carolyn had Toby Keith. When the kids were young, Hubert and Carolyn decided to temporarily relocate to Fort Smith, Arkansas. Toby Keith's grandmother lived in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and it just made sense at the time for them to be closer to his grandmother. And it turns out this was a very pivotal move for Toby Keith and his life path. During his time in Fort Smith, Arkansas, young Toby started to see musical performances by musicians who would come into his grandmother's country club to play a couple sets. Toby was around 8 years old when he saw these musical performances going on at the country club, and that's really where he got the idea to pick up the guitar. Toby's parents were actually pretty young. Hubert was 28 years old when Toby was born, and Carolyn was just 20. His mother, Carolyn, is a singer and absolutely loves music, and I use the present tense purposefully here because she is now 83 years old and going on 42. Carolyn was the perfect match for Hubert, and Hubert was the epitome of the all-American man. After a few years in Fort Smith, Arkansas, Hubert and Carolyn decided to go back to Moore, Oklahoma, where they originally had their roots, and to continue raising their family in that small town of Moore. The population around 1961 was about 2,000 people, so this was a pretty small town. I think now, in 2024, the population might be closer to around 63,000, so the town has definitely grown over the years, but at the time Toby would have been growing up here, it would have been a very small town. Although according to my father, who grew up in a town of 200 people, Moore was a big city. Before Toby was born, his father Hubert had served in the U.S. Army. As I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, his father Hubert was the inspiration for the famous American song Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. If you're not familiar with those lyrics, there is a very famous part of the song that says, "My daddy served in the army where he lost his right eye and he flew a flag out in our yard till the day that he died. He wanted my mother, my brother, my sister, and me to grow up and live happy in the land of the free." And those words were written specifically about his father, Hubert. Hubert did serve in the U.S. Army, where he sustained an eye injury that caused him to lose all of the vision in his right eye. After retiring from the Army, Hubert went into the oil business, and he worked in the oil business for 35 years. Toby really admired his father's work ethic and his father's character. His father also had an unwavering faith in God and in the Holy Spirit. While working was very important to Hubert, being a family man was even more important. Those values that Hubert had translated directly to Toby Keith and directly impacted his life and his family in the future. After Toby graduated from high school, it was only natural for him to go into the oil business just like his dad. While Toby was working in his late teens and turning into his 20s, he met a beautiful girl named Trisha. Trisha was a beautiful, all-American girl from Oklahoma, and she was a single mom. She had a daughter named Shelly before she had met Toby. Trisha and Toby dated from the time Toby was about 20 years old to 23. And then when Toby was turning 23, he proposed to Trisha, and the two were married. Toby then officially adopted Shelly, and Shelly immediately became the love of his life next to Trisha. It was around this time Toby also started to leave the oil business and started playing semi-professional football for the Oklahoma City Drillers. Even though working was extremely important to Toby, bringing home money and taking care of his family, being a family man and being a loving father to Shelly and a loving husband to Trisha was the number one joy of his life.
It was strictly up to her. She just was strong. She's been out here on the road with us for the last 4 or 5 years now. She used to come when she could. She raised great babies.
Just 1 year into their marriage, Trisha and Toby welcomed a second daughter named Crystal. And when Crystal was born, Toby decided he really needed to focus on his music full-time. While he had been playing semi-professional football and while he was working in the oil fields, he was also playing with his band in local bars and restaurants. That band was called the Easy Money Band. And even though they weren't bringing in a lot of money, Toby really saw potential in his music. He didn't want to have that feeling of what if I hadn't done this. Toby knew his kids were still young. This was the time for him to pursue a music career. And if it was going to happen, it was going to happen. And if not, he would pursue another job because, like I said, taking care of his family was his number one priority. So Toby is about 25 years old when he starts focusing on the Easy Money Band full-time. It was the mid-'80s at this point, and the Easy Money Band really amped up their show lineups and began playing bar circuits all throughout Oklahoma. Toby said he was probably bringing home about $250 to $300 a week, pocketing 30 of it and putting the rest of that money towards his family and putting food on the table. But by the time the late 80s started to come around, Toby was realizing he still wasn't making it in the music industry. And at this point, it had been about 5 or 6 years. He was also about to turn 30 in 1991. So by 1989, Toby is thinking, if I don't make it in the music industry by the time I'm 30, or if I don't even have a big break, I'm going to pursue a different career. That was his mindset. That was his plan. He gave himself that deadline, age 30.
Well, ironically, I'd gone to Nashville, been turned down. So I had a little 6-song cassette. It had 6 songs I'd written on it. So now I'm 29, and the summer I turned 30 on July 8th. I'd run into some friends. They used to see me out on the road, and now they're working in Nashville. And they came out to dinner with us, and they got a hold of they wanted to have some music. So I gave them the cassette tape, and one of them gave it to Harold Shedd, who discovered Alabama. KT Oslin, he was vice president of Mercury Records. And he heard it, and he goes, who is this guy? And they said, that's Toby, he lives in Oklahoma. He wrote these songs, yeah. He goes, I'm gonna go see him. So 20 days till my birthday or
You're
something?
29.
I'm 29. And here for 6 years, this has been my goal, and I'm gonna live to it. I've had my shot in Nashville. If I don't have my direction by 30, I may not just drop the ball today and quit because I got to keep some money coming in, but I'm going to look for another occupation. Phone rings. Will you hold for Harold Shedd? I'm like, God, yes. He goes, hey, I'm coming in Friday to hear you play. Can you play these songs? And I said, yeah. Flies in. The owner let me sing 2 45-minute sets of original music I wrote. He heard them. They were these 6 songs on this cassette, too. He signed me the next morning. He said, I'm going to sign you a record deal. On that cassette that Capitol turned down, should have been a cowboy. He ain't worth missing. Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. Does that blue moon ever shine on you? All 3 number ones, top 5. I'm literally days from my 30th birthday.
If that's not divine music intervention, I don't know what is. By the way, I do have merchandise and mugs that say Divine Music Intervention on them. If you would like to purchase one, there is a link to the store in the description down below. You can also buy any other type of Roots merchandise, a shirt, a bag, a hat, pretty much anything under the sun is on the Spread Shop store. So there's 2 different stores. There's the Divine Music Intervention store and there's the Roots Music store. Go ahead and buy some Roots merchandise if you would like to. But Divine Music Intervention strikes Toby Keith in 1991, and he is on his way to his very first record label. Toby gets signed in 1991. The first few years of 1990 were incredibly good to Toby Keith. He had what I would describe as a moderately successful career. He didn't absolutely explode, but he was definitely, quote, making it in the music industry. Toby continued to focus on his music, and then in 1997, he and Trisha welcomed their very first son, Stellan, into the world. His career with Mercury was pretty stable, but it wasn't until 1998 when he signed with another label called DreamWorks when his career really catapulted. It was through the DreamWorks label when Toby Keith released his very first hit single, How Do You Like Me Now? But 1999 wouldn't just bring fame and success for Toby Keith. It also brought a very scary moment too. His father, Hubert, in 1999 had to have quadruple bypass surgery. And this was a really intense procedure. Toby was really close to his dad, and it was very difficult for Toby to have this juxtaposed with his incredible success in the music industry. But his father, Hubert, pulled through the surgery with flying colors, and after some rest and relaxation, which was difficult for Hubert, he eventually started to get better and better. His father's poor health was definitely not the beginning of a string of bad luck. In fact, Toby Keith was having very, very good luck. By 1999, Toby had made enough money in the music industry to monetize one of his most favorite hobbies and passions, horse racing. Toby was often seen at Keeneland buying and selling race horses. He also purchased a ranch that he called Dreamwalkin' Farms. On this farm/ranch, he would breed and raise thoroughbreds for racing. Not counting partnerships, Dreamwalkin' Farms won 848 races from 6,587 starters and brought in approximately $18,648,853 in earnings by 2001. So 1999 to 2001 was the peak of Toby's life. His father is healthy, his kids are healthy, his horse racing is going well, his music is going well, everything was going really, really well for Toby and for his family. And for his father, Hubert, he obviously had retired from the oil business at this point and had been recovering from his quadruple bypass surgery, but he was well enough. He was helping out on Toby's ranch. He was taking care of the horses, overseeing operations. His father, Hubert, absolutely loved to watch the horses run, and in addition to working on Toby's farm, his father was also continuing his involvement in the Masonic Lodge and his church. But then, in 2001, something would happen to Toby's family that no amount of money could ever replace. It was a beautiful spring day on March 26, 2001. His dad, Hubert, was having a really great week, and one of his childhood friends invited him to a barbecue about 20 minutes away from Hubert's home. The friend invited Hubert and Carolyn, but Carolyn couldn't make it, and Hubert didn't want to miss the opportunity to catch up with his friend on a sunny Saturday afternoon, so Hubert decided to go to the barbecue alone. While Hubert was driving back from the barbecue, his pickup crossed over a median on Interstate 35 and struck a tour bus. Hubert died at the scene from head and internal injuries, and he was only 67 years old. Toby Keith was out of town when all of this happened, but immediately rushed home to be with his family. Toby didn't want to speculate, but he thought it was most likely his father had a stroke, and that's what caused his pickup truck to go over the median like that and hit this other bus. He said his father was a really safe driver. Practically the entire town had a speed limit of 35 miles per hour, and the family just couldn't imagine that Hubert would have been speeding or would have been driving recklessly at all. Now, while it's completely possible Hubert did have a stroke and that's what caused the car to jump over the median strip, I do want to mention I was driving an SUV once, and all of a sudden I was going about 45, 50 miles per hour. All of a sudden the car just jolted and spun out of control, and I did absolutely nothing to cause this. What had ended up happening was the ABS malfunctioned. ABS stands for automatic brake system. What happened to me was that one side just erroneously engaged the automatic brake, and the other side of the wheels did not. So when this side of the car immediately engaged its brakes, the car started to spin out of control and nearly rolled over. And then what happened is this brake released and then the other side engaged. And so the car spun one way really quickly and then it switched and spun the other way. And I spun over a median. Luckily, not luckily, but by the grace of God, there were no cars on the other side. And by the grace of God, I hadn't been on the interstate yet. I was going about 45 to 50 miles per hour. If I had been on that interstate, I would have been going 75, and it would have been just catastrophic. Even if someone was in the other lane, it would have been catastrophic. So every time I see or hear about an accident like this, where a car just goes over the road or goes over the median, everyone's first thought is drunk driving, or they were under the influence of something, or they had a stroke. But I do just want to throw out this other possibility that it could have been a situation like that. Now, obviously, this was an older car, an older pickup truck. I don't know how the braking system worked there. I kind of doubt that they had ABS. I really don't know. I'm not a car person. Toby's family was absolutely beside themselves. Hubert's faith in God and in the afterlife really proved to be comforting for the family and helped carry them through this heartache. Toby spent the summer of 2001 playing his music and mourning his father's death. I do want to cut in here and give a quick disclaimer. We are about to talk about September 11th and the sequence of events around that day. There's also going to be footage from the news coverage on that day, and I'm going to play a few voicemails that loved ones left from Flight 93. I know that a lot of you listen to this podcast on your way to work or at work or in a public setting. So if you are somewhere where you are not prepared to feel these emotions, and if you're listening to this on the YouTube version, you can reference the chapters on the side of the video to skip forward and skip to the next part. I do, however, encourage you to go back and watch the news footage and listen to these voicemails and phone calls from this day when you're at home and when you're ready to feel everything that comes along with that. I know every year we all post something somewhere that says never forget. And I kind of went back and forth for a while if I was going to include the details of this or if I was just going to mention it and mention how it impacted the song courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. And initially, I did not include these details. But watching the video back, it just didn't feel right to be covering courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue and the impact that courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue had on our country without addressing those details. And I know it's really difficult to relive these moments, but I do think that it's important because terrorism is still, unfortunately, very much so a reality. And it really is important that we never forget, but also that by never forgetting, we take a few moments every now and then to genuinely relive what that was like. So I wanted to give that quick disclaimer if you want to pause the video and go back and watch the rest of this when you're at home and when you're ready for that. YouTube has the option where you can save a video for later. So that's an option for you. You can pause this now, save the video for later, or share it, send yourself a text message with the link, however you want to go about it. But I just didn't want to start showing this footage and showing these details without giving you a heads up. And then just 6 months later, on September 11th, 2001, 4 American planes were hijacked by 19 members of the Islamic group Al-Qaeda. Hijacked Flight 11 crashed into floors 93 through 99 of the North World Trade Center at 8:46 a.m. About 20 minutes later, hijacked Flight 175 struck floors 77 to 85 of the South World Trade Center. About 50,000 people worked in both of these towers, and they estimated that between 16 and 18,000 of them were in the complex at the time of the hit. American Airlines Flight 77 was the third aircraft hijacked. That airplane crashed into the Pentagon, killing all 65 souls on board, plus the 125 people who were inside the Pentagon at the time of the attack. United Airlines Flight 93 was supposed to crash into a federal building in Washington, D.C. The hijackers had kept the passengers of Flight 93 as hostages in the air for about 30 minutes. And in these 30 minutes, the passengers were calling their loved ones to tell them what was happening and to probably say their goodbyes.
Jules, this is Ryan. Lives on an airplane that's been hijacked. If things don't go well, and it's not looking good, I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. So have a good time. Same to my parents and everybody. And I just totally love you, and I'll see you later.
Elsa, it's Lynn. I only have a minute. I'm on United 93, and it's been hijacked by terrorists who say they have a bomb. Apparently they have flown a couple of planes into the World Trade Center already, and it looks like they're going to take this one down as well. Mostly, I just wanted to say I love you, and I'm going to miss you. and please keep my love to my dad. And mostly, I just love you, and I just wanted to tell you that. I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to tell you that again or not. All my stuff is in the safe. The safe is in my closet in my bedroom. The combination is you push C for clear and then 0913, and then it should, and maybe pound, and then it should unlock. I love you, and I hope I can talk to you soon. Bye.
Hi, baby. Baby, you have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked. I'm on the plane. I'm calling from the plane. I want to tell you I love you. Please tell my children that I love them very much. And I'm so sorry, babe. I don't know what to say. There's 3 guys. They've hijacked the plane. I'm trying to be calm. We're turned around, and I've heard that there's planes that's been flown into the World Trade Center. I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. I love you. Bye.
If the terrorists on Flight 93 had not waited those 30 minutes in the air, people wouldn't have had time to call home. They wouldn't have received the message that the 2 other planes had already crashed in New York City. Because they had this extra time, they did receive this information from their loved ones. Once the passengers learned that America was under attack, they knew what their hijackers were intending to do. The passengers hung up their phones and communicated with each other what they had just learned. And they made the decision to overthrow the terrorists in the cockpit and stop them from trying to crash into their next intended target. These Americans on Flight 93 had no idea what the intended target was. All they knew was that it wasn't going to be good if they didn't stop this. 46 minutes into Flight 93, the terrorists murdered a passenger in the middle of the air. But what these hijackers on Flight 93 hadn't anticipated was the fight of the American spirit. And once these Americans figured out what they were doing and banded together, they were able to successfully outthrow the terrorists from the cockpit and prevent them from hitting their intended target in Washington, D.C. Instead, Flight 93 crashed in the middle of Pennsylvania, and rather than that plane devastating the U.S. Capitol, that flight crashed in Pennsylvania, killing everyone on board, but only everyone on board. Toby Keith and his family, along with everyone else in America, watched the news in absolute horror.
The agency right now, the FBI, is pursuing reports that one or both of the planes were hijacked. These planes were hijacked and that the crashes may have been the result of a suicide mission. The source stressed that the reports are preliminary and officials do not know the cause of the crashes. It certainly doesn't look like an accident, said a second government official, also speaking on a condition of anonymity. Again, the FBI, a senior government official, speaking on condition of anonymity, said both planes were hijacked and were flown intentionally on a suicide mission into the World Trade Centers. Again, it has not been confirmed by the White House.
Hey, a big explosion has just occurred. Everyone is running from the entire financial district now. The smoke is filling the entire area. Let's go. Come on, go, Brad, go. Stop shooting, Brad, go.
Mayor, any idea how this happened?
Not right now, not right now.
Naturally, Toby thought of his father and imagined how his dad would have felt seeing all of this unravel. And then, out of these horrible tragedies, Toby took to his guitar and pen and paper. And he wrote what would become one of America's most famous songs. Not just one of America's most famous songs, but the song that I believe played an enormous role in uniting America after these attacks. The song that Toby wrote after seeing this on the news was so healing and so inspiring for Americans everywhere. The song was called Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue.
sorry that you messed with mine. You answer me. We'll put a boot in your hands and
It was a devastating song, but it was also empowering. And it reminded Americans how strong we are. It reminded Americans that no matter what happens to us, we will prevail. America is a country that was built under God. America has strength through Christ. There are other countries in this world that were not founded as one nation under God. And if you don't support that belief, if you don't honor that value, then you can go to pretty much any other country in this world where they were not founded as one nation under God. But America was founded under God. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you go to India, if you go to a mosque, if you go to a temple, if you're a tourist just going to see it, you dress accordingly, you follow their rules, you are respectful of the environment that you're in. If they want you to take off your shoes and cover your shoulders, you take off your shoes and you cover your shoulders. Even if it's not a holy place to you, if it's a temple that you're just visiting, you're following those rules and you're honoring those values. And if you're coming into America, it's the exact same thing as going into a mosque or a temple or a church. If you're coming to America, you have to understand that we are a nation under God. That is how we have this strength. That is how America has overcome every single challenge that has ever come its way. It's because of God's power and it's because of God's grace. And I encourage you, if you haven't seen my Roots documentary about the Star-Spangled Banner, it is such an emotional story. I made that video in front of the US Capitol, and it's such an important story to me. If you would like me to remaster it with different audio, I absolutely will. Just let me know. The more you actually learn about why people came here in the first place, what they were escaping, what their vision was for this country, where their heart was when they founded it, you really understand the gravity of this country and of everything that we stand for. And the song, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, is so empowering but so touching in the same way that it brings to the surface all of our core values and everything that we believe in. And then it has this overarching aura of strength and power. And that strength and power comes from the Almighty God and the Almighty God only.
I've always prayed. I've always believed in a creator. I was rolling down the road one time with one of my musicians from the old bar band days, and we were dragging that old van and trailer all over southwest part of the United States. Me and him were the only two awake. I was driving. He was sitting up front. We're going down the road, and he said, he started talking, he was agnostic. And I said, so you don't believe in a creator at all? Like, we're just like amoebas that swam up on the bank and grew up, and then when we die, they just stick us back in the ground. He goes, I go, why do you not believe in God? And he said, well, he's never presented himself to me. I've never seen him. I said, really? And I'd remembered hearing him talk previous about he believed in UFOs. I go, but you believe in UFOs? He goes, yeah. I go, you ever seen one? He goes, no. I go, touche, buddy.
Yeah. The very first verse of Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue reads, American girls and American guys will always stand up and salute. We will always recognize. When we see Old Glory flying, there's a lot of men dead. So we can sleep in peace at night when we lay down our head. And then the second verse speaks directly to Toby Keith's father and the man that he was. My daddy served in the army where he lost his right eye, but he flew a flag out in our yard until the day that he died. He wanted my mother, my brother, my sister, and me to grow up and live happy in the land of the free. The next verse speaks directly to the September 11th attacks. Now this nation that I love has fallen under attack. A mighty sucker punch came flying in from somewhere in the back. Soon as we could see clearly through our big black eye, man, we lit up your world like the 4th of July. Hey, Uncle Sam put your name at the top of his list, and the Statue of Liberty started shaking her fist. And the eagle will fly. Man, it's gonna be hell when you hear Mother Freedom start ringing her bell. And it feels like the whole wide world is raining down on you. Brought to you courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. Toby Keith officially released the song in May of 2002 as the lead single from his album Unleashed. The song eventually peaked at #1 on Hot Country Songs and became one of Toby Keith's arguably biggest songs of his career. And I truly believe that his father was up there in heaven, guiding him with every word and every note. ABC invited Toby Keith to sing courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue on a patriotic special it was producing in 2002. However, the host of the show, who was a Canadian-born newsman named Peter Jennings, requested that Keith, quote, soften the lyrics. If he didn't soften the lyrics, he needed to choose another song to sing instead. Toby Keith refused to soften the lyrics and did not appear on that special. Normally, I don't insert my personal opinion here, but to soften lyrics about defending a country that was attacked by 19 terrorist hijackers, there is no softening to those people. There is no softening in these situations. Nothing gets softened in a response to something so evil and so grotesque. Honestly, shame on ABC for even suggesting that Toby Keith soften lyrics like that. I mean, what, because he said booting your ass? Like, I'm not even going to go there. Other songs on the album Unleashed include Who's Your Daddy, Rock You Baby, and Beer for My Horses, a duet he did with Willie Nelson. Toby didn't want to just sing about supporting America, though. Toby really wanted to make an effort to do everything that he could as a musician and as a performer to genuinely help the troops, support the troops, and uplift them. So in 2002, Toby made several trips to the Middle East to sing and visit with our troops. One more disclaimer before we continue on with the episode. I have chosen to include footage of Toby Keith's concerts and interviews and songs. I think it's important to the integrity of this tribute, and it's something I struggle with. I always try to get licenses for you guys so that I can include songs and actual footage, but most of the time I can't. So I have made the decision to include footage like this and not monetize the video. With that said, there is an option that you can help out the channel if you appreciate this type of content. There is a super thanks button at the bottom of this video play bar. Clicking that button allows you to donate any amount that you feel adequate to the channel and to Roots Music. Any amount of money that is coming from this channel, I am directly reinvesting to make Roots better and to improve. So any amount that you can or would like to give, I would so appreciate and be so humbled to receive it. But even just having you here is enough, and just subscribing to the channel is completely free and is the best way to support the channel by subscribing and giving the videos a thumbs up. So thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to throw that out there and disclose that for you. And with that said, let's continue honoring Toby Keith with some of his most touching performances and interviews.
She said, I've seen you in here before. I said, I've been here a time or two. She said, hello, my name is Bobby Joe. Now me and my twin sister Betty Lou. Yeah, we're both feeling kind of wild tonight. You're the only cowboy in this place. And if you're up for a rodeo, we'll put a big Texas smile on your face. I said, girls, I ain't as good as I once was. I got a few years on me now, but there was a time back in my prime when I could really lay it down. So if you need some love tonight, I might have just enough.
He said, quote, my father was a soldier. He taught his kids to respect veterans, and also said, quote, I don't apologize for being patriotic. If there is something socially incorrect about being patriotic and supporting your troops, then they can kiss my ass on that, because I am not going to budge on that at all, and that has nothing to do with politics. Toby spent the next year touring for Unleashed and preparing for his 8th studio album called Shockin' Y'all. His 8th album was released on November 4th 2003, which featured 10 studio tracks and 2 live, quote, bus songs. The album went platinum 4 times in the US alone and featured the songs I Love This Bar, American Soldier, Whiskey Girl, and a bonus track called The Taliban Song. In 2005, Toby Keith released another album called Honky Tonk University, which featured the song As Good As I Once Was. When DreamWorks closed down in that same year, Toby decided to start his own record label and called it Show Dog Nashville, which I believe his daughter Crystal is still signed to, but I could be wrong about that. But Toby's career honestly did not stop throughout the 2000s. If anything, it amped up. I think he was bringing in, I saw $9 million a year just on royalties alone. Toby would announce a show and it would be sold out in like 3 days. He was truly the epitome of country music and, just like his father Hubert, the epitome of the American man. In 2012, Toby Keith gave an unforgettable performance when he surprised a military wife in the audience with the homecoming of her husband from his deployment.
The families tonight are the people who's proud enough to wear my country's uniform. Is anybody here tonight got a soldier or Marine overseas that you love enough? Come on, sister. Somebody give her a goose up here. Hide your skirt a minute. Where's your husband at tonight? Afghanistan. You want to sing? Is he a soldier? Yes. How about we do a little soldier tribute to your husband while he's in Afghanistan? What's his name?
Pete.
Pete? What's his rank?
He's a major.
Major Pete what?
Cruz.
Major Pete Cruz? Alright, let's do this song. Is it from Houston or Texas, somewhere there? You live here though, right? Let's do this song for Major Pete Cruz tonight. I do this song for my father tonight. So we're going to do it for my father and for your husband, Major Pete Cruz tonight, okay? Right? I'm just trying to be a father. Really don't remember this song. Get love to their mother. Everything they ever want. I've been out bright and early. My business in my suit. Hey, I'm dressed up for success. My head down to my boots. I don't do it for the money. I got bills that I can't pay, and I don't do it for the glory. I just do it anyway. Nobody for our future. My responsibility. I'm feeling all the pressure. You didn't drink it all. I can't call it single Mondays when my weekend's been too strong. And I wish they knew I had days, but sometimes all night long. That I'll stand ready when the look grounds at the door. 'Cause I'm solid and I'm steady. And I'm down to the core. I'm always about to live, no matter what the price. I'm counting up the calls that I know the sacrifice. People die. For you, but if time is asking me, I'll bear that cross with honor. Freedom not complete. I'm an American soldier, an American So my beautiful crew told me before the show tonight, they said there's a girl sitting right over here at the end of the tee, and she's in this little tan dress. And y'all met her in the meet and greet night, but said her husband's coming home tonight. She has no idea. So I went over and picked her out. Welcome home, Major Cruz. Thank you for your service, Godspeed, and thank you for our freedom. I appreciate you, man. Y'all go enjoy yourself for a little while. So you want to sing a song? You want to do a little boot in your ass? Can you sing a little boot in your ass with us? Let's do a little boot in your ass. You want to do it? You can sing it. American girls, drive the Cape Horn over here. American guys will always stand up and salute. Will always recognize when we see old glory flying. There's a lot of men there. You gotta go up. We can sleep in peace at night when we lay down. All right, why don't you have the Cape Horn out? We'll go up right here, right? My daddy served in the army, right off his right eye. He flew the flag out in our yard till the day that he died. One of my mother, my brother, my sister and me to grow up and live forever in a land of the free. Whose nation now is falling under attack. Everybody's sucker punch came flying from somewhere in back. So we could see clearly through our big black eye, man. We lit up your world like a 4th of July. Oh, Sam, what's your name? Time to hear the wheels and the tracks. You would if you start to shake your fist and a eagle will fly. And it's gonna be here. Then you will know free to start a minute and feel like a worldwide world. Battle will rage, good guys will win every time you rattle their cage. Man, you'll be sorry that you messed with my USA.
And here we are, a decade after 9/11, and people are still flocking to see Toby Keith and still singing every single word and waiting for that song, courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. And it's moments like this that make us American. Every single year, Toby Keith reminded all of us that we are one nation and we have the strength and the power to overcome anything.
Hey, people, never apologize for being patriotic. Fuck 'em.
On January 1st, 2021, Toby Keith raised a red Solo cup in a video he posted to social media, basically saying he was glad 2020 was over and was very excited for 2021.
2020 was a hell of a year. Big dumpster fire. We made it through. Cheers to 2021. Let's all make it a great one. Godspeed.
He had no idea that in the fall of that year, he was going to receive a diagnosis that would change his life forever. In the fall of 2021, Toby was diagnosed with stomach cancer. For the next 12 months, Toby was quiet. People were wondering where Toby was, but a lot of times when someone goes quiet, they're working on an album. I don't think his fans or anyone ever could have expected the message they would receive. In June of 2022, Toby announced on social media that he had been receiving chemotherapy, radiation, and already had surgery for his stomach cancer diagnosis. In the post, Toby emphasized his desire to see his fans sooner rather than later. And he wasn't kidding, because he ended up playing a set of shows June 30th and July 1st in Norman, Oklahoma at the historic Hollywood Corners Bar. This was a very small and intimate show and a very small and intimate venue, but it was important for Toby to get behind the guitar again and to perform, even if it was on a really small scale. The people who saw him in Norman, Oklahoma, were the first people to see the new Toby Keith. Toby had lost an absurd amount of weight. He was extremely thin and looked like he had aged several years just from his post in 2021. Of course, the general public didn't know that Toby looked like this. This June and July show happened in 2022, literally right after he announced his diagnosis. The next time fans really saw Toby Keith was in November of 2022, a few months after that small show. He addressed fans' concerns about his health and said, quote, "I need a little bit of time to just rest up and heal up." It becomes pretty clear that Toby realized his time was limited, and he wanted to spend the last few months, or whatever amount of time that was, doing what he loved most: singing, performing, writing, and most of all, connecting with his fans and family. In July of 2023, people were kind of shocked to see Toby Keith in a video of him doing karaoke in an Uber.
They understand what's your name, top of his list and the statue of liberty started getting real pissed and the eagle will fly and it's gonna be hell.
Toby looked like he was in good spirits, and it was a really fun, jovial video, but it was very clear that Toby had lost a lot of weight and had really been struggling. He was visibly thinner and looked as though he'd aged 10 years since the post in 2021 when he was raising his red Solo cup wishing everyone a happy new year. His posts in 2023 were few and far between, but held a lot of weight in every word that was said. He posted on September 2nd, 2023, with the passing of Jimmy Buffett. He posted again on September 11th, 2023, when he reiterated that we will never forget the September 11th attacks. He posted again on the 4th of July. He said, quote, "Happy birthday, America. Couldn't be the land of the free without the sacrifice of the brave. Wishing y'all a happy and safe 4th of July. God bless." Then on September 28th, Toby and his wife Trisha appeared at the People's Choice Awards in Nashville. And I am so glad they did. I can only imagine there might have been some question as to, do we go? Because when you're sick and going through something like this, every little bit of energy that you have is so precious. And I know it probably took everything he had to get dressed and to go. And you always have that uncertainty when you're sick as well. Am I going to feel good? Is this going to go well? Am I going to have a good day that day or a bad day that day? It's very hard to commit to things, but I think it's really important to stress Toby and his wife made this important to them and they committed to going. Whether he was having a good or a bad day, we don't know, but he was there. I remember when he did his performance, you could honestly hear a pin drop.
Don't let the old man in. I wanna live me some more. Can't leave it up to him. He's knocking on my door. And I knew all of my life that someday it would end. Get up and go outside. Don't let the old man in. Yeah, man,
Everyone in that crowd and watching it at home on their TVs, everyone stopped and listened to every single word coming out of Toby Keith's mouth when he gave his performance, Don't Let the Old Man In. Now, the song Don't Let the Old Man In was something Toby Keith had written back in 2018, but you could tell this song meant a lot to Toby, especially now, given his current phase of life. A very thin and frail Toby Keith got up on stage with his guitar, doing what he loved most, and he started to play, Don't Let the Old Man In. I want to leave this alone. Can't leave it up to him. He's knocking on my door. And I knew all of my life that someday it would end. Get up and go outside. Don't let the old man in. Many moons I have lived, my body's weathered and worn. Ask yourself, how old would you be if you didn't know the day you were born? Try to love on your wife and stay close to your friends. Toast each sundown with wine. Don't let the old man in. It's even hard to read these lyrics. As soon as Toby Keith finished the song, even with tears in everyone's eyes, the audience absolutely erupted in applause. The following month, Toby announced he'd be taking the stage in December for 2 shows in Las Vegas, December 10th and 11th. He was feeling so good during this time. A few weeks later, he announced he was going to add a 3rd show on December 14th.
Hello, Buckaroos. It's Toby Keith. Had a big old day Friday. We completely sold out the 2 shows we announced in Vegas. Coming up December, and the response to these shows has got me all fired up. Well, Warriors, that being said, we're going to do one last show in Vegas. December 14th, Dolby Live Park MGM. This will be the only show we had on this Vegas run. Tickets will go on sale this Friday, November 3rd at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm fired up for these 3 shows, and clearly you are too. Can't wait to see you there. Let's go.
On December 28th, Toby called these Las Vegas shows, quote, a damn good way to end the year, sharing a montage clip from the performances. 3 days later, on New Year's Eve, he said it had been one hell of a year with a lot to be grateful for. Here's to 2024. We didn't hear much from Toby in January of 2024. I think most of us felt pretty good about his physical and mental health because we had seen him doing shows and we had seen him doing so many interviews. I think a lot of people were very hopeful about him, but everyone also did have this feeling and this knowledge that he wasn't doing well. I think a lot of us were surprised on February 6th when we opened up our computers or logged into our phones and saw the headlines that Toby Keith had passed away. Toby's passing was announced at 2:20 a.m. on February 6th. It was a photo on social media that showed Toby at the peak of his health wearing a cowboy hat out in nature. And the words read, Toby Keith passed away peacefully last night on February 5th, surrounded by his family. He fought his fight with grace and courage. Please respect the privacy of his family at this time. Tributes immediately started flowing in, and I think a lot of us were just knocked off our axis for a little bit after reading this. And it becomes hard to listen to the music right away because it's painful to think about how he's not here anymore. But it's his music that heals us and keeps us alive. I genuinely believe this world would be a better place if he were still here. But by the same token, I believe he is going to be the most powerful and positive force heaven has ever seen. I know he's going to guide this country and protect us with his divine presence now. And I know for a fact his memory will be eternal in country music and in the American spirit. I want to thank you for supporting my channel and supporting Roots Music History. Please don't hesitate to join the family by hitting that subscribe button. And I will see you on the next Roots Rockumentary.
Hungry for the road all my life, thirsty for adventure all my youth, chasing all my